Welcome to Dreamy Detections. Thank you for choosing to spend your quiet time here, in this peaceful sanctuary where gentle stories unfold. The tale that awaits is designed to help you release the day, find a gentle sense of contentment, and drift into a wonderfully restorative sleep. If you find comfort in our time together, a simple like, a subscription to the channel, or a kind comment is always so deeply appreciated. Tonight, we will be visiting the charming village of Hollowbell and walking the path of Hummingbird Lane. Step into a world where old lanterns hum a gentle, harmonious tune, and the very air seems to shimmer with peace. Allow this story to be your gentle respite, a journey into stillness and profound calm, where the only thing to discover is a deeper sense of peace. Chapter 1. The First Note of Hollowbell. Clara Hemlock arrived in Hollowbell as the day was softening into twilight, the sky a gentle wash of dusty rose and pale lavender. Her small cottage was tucked away on Hummingbird Lane, a narrow, curving path that felt like a secret whispered between the cozy homes it served. The air was cool and carried the sweet, earthy scent of damp moss and the faint perfume of unseen flowers. She stood for a moment by her gate, simply breathing, allowing the profound quiet of the village to settle over her like a soft, woolen shawl, hushing the lingering echoes of her long journey. The cottage was a picture of warmth and welcome. Inside, the floors were made of wide, dark wooden planks, and a small, well-loved armchair was situated by a window that looked out onto the lane. A simple ceramic vase on the mantelpiece held a sprig of fresh lavender, its calming scent a gentle greeting. Clara placed her bag down, the soft thud of it on the floor, the only sound in the stillness. She felt the muscles in her neck and shoulders begin to release, surrendering to the deep and abiding peace that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the little house. As the last light of the sun faded from the sky, a soft golden glow bloomed into life just outside her window. It was the first of the old lanterns that lined the lane, its flame igniting with a gentle, magical suddenness. And with the light came a sound. It was a low, resonant hum, a single pure tone that was so unexpected and so beautiful that Clara found herself holding her breath to hear it better. The sound was not mechanical or harsh. It was musical, like the deep, calming note of a cello played softly in a faraway room. A moment later, another lantern farther down the lane ignited, adding its own slightly different note to the air, a harmonious fifth above the first. Then another, and another, until the entire lane was bathed in a warm, honeyed light, and the air was filled with a gentle, layered chorus. It was a chord of pure tranquility, a sound that seemed to vibrato in the very air, vibrating with peace. Clara stepped outside onto her small porch, wrapping her arms around herself, not from cold, but from a sense of sheer wonder. The humming filled the quiet, a constant, soothing presence. She walked a few steps down the lane, her soft-soled shoes making no noise on the smooth, dark cobblestones. The light from the lanterns cast a gentle, wavering glow on the ivy that clung to the old garden walls, making the leaves shimmer as if they were wet with dew. The hum was all around her, a benevolent sound that seemed to ask nothing of her, only to offer its own serene company. It felt ancient and knowing, a lullaby the village sang to itself each night. In that moment, Clara felt a sense of profound and gentle curiosity bloom within her. It was a feeling entirely free of anxiety or urgency, a simple, happy wonder about the source of this beautiful sound. It was a puzzle made of light and music, presented not as a challenge, but as a gift. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for having found this place, this lane where the very streetlights offered a song of welcome. She returned to her cottage, the harmonious hum following her, seeping through the old wooden door and filling the small rooms with its tranquil music. She made a cup of chamomile tea, its warm floral steam rising to meet her. Sinking into the comfortable armchair by the window, she watched the gentle, steady glow of the lanterns and listened to their song. The warmth of the mug spread through her hands, a comforting, grounding sensation. The hum was a constant, soothing presence as she sat there, a gentle anchor in the peaceful dark. It was the sound of stillness. It was the sound of safety. Clara felt her breathing slow and deepen, falling into an easy, natural rhythm with the calming chorus outside her window. The world beyond Hollowbell, with all its noise and hurry, felt a universe away. Here on Hummingbird Lane, there was only the gentle light, the comforting warmth, and the beautiful humming song of the night. Chapter 2: A Harmony of Light and Leaves. Clara's days in Hollowbell quickly found a simple, peaceful rhythm, guided by the sun and the soft hum of the lanterns. Each evening, as the sky deepened to indigo, she would begin her gentle ritual. A slow, mindful walk along the length of Hummingbird Lane. This became the most cherished part of her day, a time for quiet observation and for immersing herself completely in the unique atmosphere of her new home. The walks were unhurried, a lesson in the simple joy of paying attention to the world around her. With each walk, she began to notice the subtle complexities within the lantern's chorus. She realized that the hum was not a single monolithic sound, but a tapestry woven from many different threads of music. A tall, slender lamp near a cascade of white roses had a clear, high tenor note, while a shorter, stouter lantern by an old wooden bench produced a deep, resonant bass tone. Together, they created a perfectly balanced, layered chord that pulsed gently in the night air, a sound that seemed to bring a deep sense of peace to the very leaves on the ivy-covered walls, making them still and silent. The light itself was as magical as the sound. It was a soft, golden light, unlike the stark brightness of modern lamps. It pooled on the cobblestones, creating islands of warmth in the cool darkness, and it caught the edges of the cottage roofs, outlining them in a gentle, shimmering glow. Clara found herself appreciating the quality of the shadows it cast, long and soft, and utterly without menace. It was a light that invited rest and contemplation, a light that made the world feel safe and wonderfully cozy. One evening, as she was pausing to admire the way the light illuminated the intricate veins of an ivy leaf, she saw an elderly gentleman farther down the lane. He was moving with a slow, deliberate grace, carrying a small wooden box and a soft cloth. He stopped at one of the lanterns and began to gently polish the glass panels of the lamp, his movements practiced and full of a quiet reverence. He worked without hurry, his focus entirely on his simple, gentle task. As Clara drew nearer, he looked up, and his face, etched with the fine lines of a long and peaceful life, broke into a warm, kind smile. He gave a small, courteous nod, and Clara returned the smile, a silent exchange of mutual appreciation for the beauty of the lane. There was no need for words. The shared moment was one of perfect understanding, a recognition of their mutual affection for this special place. He continued his work, and Clara continued her walk, feeling a gentle sense of connection, of being a small part of the lane's quiet life. This simple, warm interaction stayed with her, adding another layer to her growing contentment. The lane was not just a collection of quaint cottages and magical lanterns. It was a community of people who cherished its peace, who took care of its unique charms with a gentle, loving hand. The caretaker's quiet work was an act of devotion, a way of ensuring the lanterns could continue to sing their soothing song for all who passed by. Returning to her cottage, Clara felt a profound sense of gratitude. She made herself a warm drink and sat by her window, listening to the hum that now felt even richer and more meaningful. She understood that the harmony of the lane was composed of more than just light and sound. It was a harmony of nature, of gentle human care, and of a shared history that was held in the very air. She picked up a small, smooth piece of driftwood she had found earlier and held it in her palm, its texture comforting and real. The lanterns hummed their steady, peaceful tune, and the world felt perfectly in balance. Clara felt a gentle weight in her limbs, the pleasant heaviness of deep relaxation. She was part of the lane's harmony now, a quiet observer, adding her own silent note of appreciation to the beautiful nightly chorus. Chapter 3. The Warmth of the Woven Mug. On a particularly cool and misty afternoon, when the sky was the color of a soft gray pearl, Clara sought the warmth and gentle company of the village tea room. The woven mug, as it was called, was nestled in the small village square, its windows glowing with an inviting, buttery light. The name came from the proprietor's charming hobby of knitting cozy, colorful sleeves for all of her ceramic mugs, a delightful touch that made holding a warm drink feel like receiving a hug. Inside, the air was warm and smelled deliciously of cinnamon, baked apples, and brewing tea. Soft chatter and the gentle clinking of spoons against pottery created a comfortable, soothing soundscape. Clara found a small table in a quiet corner, a perfect vantage point for simply being. The proprietor, a woman with a kind smile and spectacles perched on her nose, brought her a menu and a mug already wrapped in a soft, green knitted cozy. The warmth seeped into Clara's hands instantly, a wonderful, grounding sensation. After ordering a pot of spiced apple tea, Clara found herself in a quiet, pleasant conversation with the proprietor, whose name was Martha. Clara mentioned how much she admired Hummingbird Lane, and particularly the beautiful, unusual sound made by its lanterns. Martha's eyes lit up with recognition and affection. "Ah, the humming," she said, her voice warm. "Isn't it the most peaceful sound in the world? It has been the village's lullaby for as long as anyone can remember." Clara learned that the hum was an integral part of life in Hollowbell, a cherished and unique feature of the village's character. Newcomers were always enchanted by it, and those who had lived there their whole lives found it a constant source of comfort, a sound that meant they were home and all was well. Martha shared that on quiet summer evenings, people would often bring chairs out to their porches just to sit and listen as the lanterns began their nightly chorus. It was a shared, simple pleasure that connected the community. Martha explained that no one thought of it as a mystery to be solved. It was simply a quality of the lane, a piece of its gentle magic. Some things are just meant to be enjoyed, not explained away, she said with a knowing smile, placing the steaming pot of tea on Clara's table. The fragrant steam rose in a delicate swirl, carrying the comforting scent of apples and spice. Clara felt a deep sense of agreement with Martha's sentiment. The wonder of the hum was in its existence, not in its explanation. Drinking her tea, Clara felt the gentle warmth spread through her, a comforting sensation that mirrored the emotional warmth of the tea room. She listened to the soft murmur of conversations around her, stories of gardens and baking and grandchildren, the simple, pleasant fabric of village life. She understood then that the lantern's harmony was a reflection of the community itself, gentle, steady, and deeply comforting. It was a sound that had been woven into generations of peaceful lives. Later, as she walked back to her cottage, the mist had thickened, shrouding the lane in a soft, ethereal blanket. The lanterns were already lit, their golden glow diffused by the damp air, creating soft halos of light. The hum seemed even more resonant in the mist, each note clear and pure, a beacon of sound in the quiet gray. The puzzle of the lanterns was deepening, not in a way that created questions, but in a way that added layers of gentle history and shared affection. Back in her cozy armchair, Clara felt a profound sense of belonging. She was no longer just a visitor admiring a charming oddity. She felt connected to the generations of people who had listened to this same peaceful song, who had found comfort in its simple, beautiful notes. The hum was the heart of Hollowbell, beating with a steady, gentle rhythm, and she felt her own heart relax into its peaceful cadence, filled with a quiet, lasting joy. Chapter 4. The Glassblower's Gentle Song. A few days later, Clara was tending to a small window box of mint, her fingers gently pinching a leaf to release its fresh, clean scent, when she saw Mr. Alastair Finch again. He was walking slowly down Hummingbird Lane, not with his polishing kit this time, but simply enjoying the quiet of the late afternoon. He paused near her gate to admire a particularly vibrant cluster of bluebells, and Clara felt a gentle impulse to speak with him. She stepped outside, offering a soft hello. Mr. Finch turned, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners as he smiled. "A lovely afternoon," he said, his voice as gentle and steady as his demeanor. "The bluebells are especially fine this year." Their conversation started simply, with talk of flowers and the pleasant weather, but Clara, feeling comfortable in his peaceful presence, eventually mentioned her deep admiration for the lanterns and their beautiful humming song. A look of quiet pride and pleasure softened his features even more. "They are special, aren't they?" he stated, more as a gentle affirmation than a question. He then gestured for her to walk with him a few paces down the lane to the lantern with the deep, resonant bass tone that she was particularly fond of. He ran a fond hand over the ornate ironwork of its post. "My father was the caretaker before me," he began softly, "and his father before him. The story of their song is a simple one, and a happy one." He explained that the lanterns were crafted nearly a century ago by a man named Silas Croft, the village's master glassblower. Silas was not only a craftsman, but also a passionate musician who played the viola. He believed that everything he created should hold a little bit of music within it. And so, when he was commissioned to make the glass shades for the new lanterns on Hummingbird Lane, he designed them with a very particular hidden feature. Inside each glass shade, Mr. Finch explained, pointing upward, Silas embedded a slender, precisely tuned filament of glass. You cannot see it from the outside. The heat from the gas flame causes the air around this filament to vibrate, and the filament itself resonates like a string on a musical instrument. Each one was tuned to a different specific note, all part of a single harmonious chord. He smiled. Silas called it the lane's own glass choir. It was his gift to the village, a song that would play long after he was gone. The explanation was so simple, so beautiful, and so perfectly fitting for the gentle magic of the lane. It was not a complex mechanism or a supernatural event, but an act of artistry and love, a piece of quiet genius born from a desire to create beauty. The puzzle was resolved not with a grand revelation, but with a quiet, heartwarming story that made the lanterns even more special. The hum was the gentle, lingering echo of a good man's song. Clara felt a wave of pure, uncomplicated joy. The knowledge filled her with a sense of completion and an even deeper connection to this peaceful place. She thanked Mr. Finch for sharing the story, her voice soft with sincere appreciation. They stood together in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to the first lantern ignite as dusk began its slow descent, its single clear note heralding the beginning of the evening's concert. That night, tucked into her armchair with a soft quilt over her lap, Clara listened to the lantern's chorus with new ears. She could almost imagine the kind face of Silas Croft, the glassblower musician, carefully tuning each filament, infusing his creation with a permanent, gentle song. The hum was a testament to the enduring power of simple, beautiful things. It was a story of craftsmanship, of community, and of the quiet, lasting peace that can be found in a gentle, harmonious sound. Her journey of gentle curiosity had led her not to a solution, but to a story. And in that story, she found a profound and lasting sense of tranquility.